Well, good afternoon. My name is Savannah Bonds, and I am currently a Clemson student, at Clemson University. And this past summer, I had the privilege of being a summer intern at the Clare, Boothe, Luce Center for Conservative Women. And today, I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, Abby Johnson. Fiercely determined to help women in need, Abby began her career with Planned Parenthood, later fleeing the organization and becoming an outspoken advocate for the pro-life movement. During her 8 years with Planned Parenthood, Abby became a clinic director, yet she became increasingly disturbed by what she witnessed. The lies of abortion were being sold by the organization to unsuspecting women. Still, Abby loved the women that entered her clinic and her coworkers. Despite a growing unrest within her, she stayed on and strove to serve women in crisis. All of that changed on September 26, 2009, when Abby was asked to assist with an ultrasound-guided abortion. She watched in horror as a 13-week-old baby fought for and ultimately lost its life at the hands of an abortionist. At that moment, she fully realized what abortion actually was and what she had dedicated her life to. Desperate and confused, Abby sought help from a local pro-life group. She swore that she would begin to advocate for life in the womb and expose abortion for what it truly is. Planned Parenthood did not take Abby's departure kindly, and they immediately took action to silence her. They silenced her with a gag order and brought her to court. The lawsuit was quickly seen as the sham it was, though, and ultimately thrown out of court. The media was and continues to be intensely interested in Abby's story, as well as her continued efforts to advocate for the unborn and help clinic workers escape the abortion industry. She is frequently requested guest on Fox News and a variety of other shows. She is also the author of the nationally best-selling book, Unplanned, which chronicles both her experiences with Planned Parenthood and her dramatic exit out. Today, Abby travels across the globe sharing her story, educating the public on pro-life issues, advocating for the unborn, and reaching out to abortion clinic staff who still work in the industry. She is the founder of Then There Were None, a ministry designed to assist abortion clinic workers in transitioning out of the industry. To date, this ministry has helped over 630 workers leave the abortion industry. Abby resides in Texas with her husband and 8 precious children.
Well, I am from Texas, so howdy. You say howdy back. That's how it works. All right, good. Well, I'm so glad to be here with all of you today. And gosh, I do want to talk to you today. I mean, obviously about abortion. That's kind of what I do. But I do want to take questions from all of you lovely ladies, and I want to hear from you and be able to answer anything that is sort of pressing on your mind, the things that you're hearing. Abortion is obviously a very hot topic right now. It's all over social media, and with the upcoming election in 2024, it's certainly something that we are hearing about more and more in the media, and it's something that comes up in the presidential debates, and it's everywhere. So anyone who says abortion is a settled law or a settled debate has not been paying attention, because it certainly isn't. So you heard that very long bio, which every time I hear it, I just remind myself that I need to shorten it. But anyway, I did work for Planned Parenthood for 8 years of my life. Did not grow up pro-choice. Grew up in a very conservative Southern Baptist home. I've got amazing parents. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I grew up in just the best home environment anybody could ever ask for. My parents are still married today for almost 50 years. And, I grew up in I had a fantastic home life. I remember my parents saying something about abortion. I remember them saying that we were against abortion, but it was not something that was brought up in our home. We didn't sit around the dinner table and talk about what abortion was or the ins and outs of the pro-choice, pro-life movement. My parents were not activist in any way, shape, or form. You know, it was a different time. I'm a lot older than most of you in the room. So back in the late 70s, early 80s, it was a different time period. Nobody was shouting their abortion. Nobody was standing up at a podium and, you know, talking about, excitedly talking about how many abortions they had had, right? Nobody was wearing a t-shirt that said, "I've had an abortion." People were not proud of their sin. Back then, it was a time that you kept your sins private. Now we flaunt them. We sin, we want everybody to know about it, right? That's the society that we live in today. I mean, you see it. If you go on TikTok and you look for abortion, you will see women who are on TikTok streaming their abortion procedures. They have images of their babies that they have delivered through medication abortion. They have their babies in their hands, and they have images of that. They're streaming their medication abortion. They'll show the images of their aborted babies in their hands. I didn't grow up in that time. I grew up in a time where people still had a filter. Not everything that came into the head came right out of the mouth, okay? Politics were more private. You didn't just exclaim to the world who you were voting for. Everything was more private. And so I really didn't know anything about abortion. So when I went to college and I met a representative from Planned Parenthood, that was the first time I had ever even heard the name Planned Parenthood. I grew up in South Louisiana. There were no abortion clinics anywhere around me. I didn't know anybody that had had an abortion. Nothing. So when she started talking to me about Planned Parenthood and all of the amazing services they provide, right? All of this family planning and birth control and STD testing and well woman care, that was what she presented first. And back then, this was in 2001, that was their forward-facing product. Their forward-facing product at that time was not abortion. Their forward-facing product was family planning, prevention of abortion. And that was what sold me, was this idea that Planned Parenthood was going to prevent the need for abortion by contracepting the population. And I thought, well, that makes sense. Sure, you get everybody on contraception, you prevent pregnancy by contracepting everybody. Fine, you don't have any unplanned pregnancies. What I didn't know at that time is that the science, the statistics actually don't back that up. Logically, we think, well, if everybody's on birth control, then nobody's getting pregnant. That's what we think in our heads. But statistically, that's not what it shows. And Planned Parenthood knows that. How do they know that? Well, because the statistics actually come from them. So the statistic I'm about to tell you does not come from Life News or Live Action or Abby Johnson's research or anything like that, okay? This comes from the Guttmacher Institute. Now, is the Guttmacher Institute conservative or liberal? Super liberal, okay? The Guttmacher Institute was originally founded with Planned Parenthood dollars, okay? The Guttmacher Institute is Planned Parenthood's research arm, okay? They're as left as you can get on abortion politics. In fact, if I want to know anything about abortion numbers, statistics, anything like that, I go to Guttmacher. I don't go to pro-life websites. I go to Guttmacher because I figure if I'm going to get accurate answers about abortion numbers, anything like that, Guttmacher will tell me because I don't really have any reason to lie. They have the most accurate numbers. When I worked at Planned Parenthood, we reported our most accurate numbers not to the state. We reported our most accurate numbers to Guttmacher. So if I need statistics or numbers, I don't go to the CDC. I go to Guttmacher because the clinics don't lie to them. The clinics will lie to the state, but they don't lie to Guttmacher. So according to Guttmacher, their own independent research, what they say is that women who have abortions, 54% of women who have abortions, so more than half of women who have abortions, were using contraception at the time they got pregnant. Okay, so what does that mean? That means if you looked out into a waiting room of women waiting to have an abortion, more than half of them were using contraception and still got pregnant. That's not my number. That's a pro-choice number. You see, the answer has never been more birth control. The answer has always been more self-control. But self-control does not make Planned Parenthood money. And self-control is not part of their business plan. Their business plan, Planned Parenthood's business plan, is for every woman to have 3 abortions by the time they're 30. Self-control doesn't allow for that. But birth control does. Okay. That was not what was told to me, though. When I first got involved, it was the forward-facing message was, we are about preventing the need for abortion. Abortion is such a small percentage of what we do, and it's like a necessary evil. We don't like it either. But we don't want women to be forced to go to these back alley clinics where it's so dangerous and women will die. Okay, well, I didn't know anything about this. And that all sounded logical to me as someone who was truly ignorant of either side, right? So I thought, okay, sounds great, sign me up. So I signed up. I began to work there, graduated college, worked there, went on to get my master's, was continuing to work there. I got moved up. Eventually, I'm running the whole place, okay? And I'm the director, and I remember thinking as I was the director, man, our messaging is really changing. It began to really change in the mid-2000s. We realized that this idea that, telling women that, their babies are just tissue or it's just cells or it's not really a baby, that really wasn't working with women coming in to have abortions. Why? Well, because 60% of women who have abortions already have children at home. These are women who have already delivered. They've already had ultrasounds. They've already delivered a baby. They've seen ultrasounds. They've seen a heartbeat. They know what's happening inside of their womb. So when they come to us and they start asking questions about the baby inside of their womb, and we're like, it's not really a baby, it's just tissue. And they're like, no, I have one of these. I know it's a baby. That wasn't resonating with them. It wasn't making sense. And so the staff started making comments like that about mid-2000s. In 2007, we had a really big meeting, and it was affiliate-wide, And we had a big meeting, and we had this marketing research team come in. And they had done all of this focus group testing with all of these women and thousands of women. And they came in and they said, look, we're changing everything up. It's going to be huge. Everybody's got to pay attention. This is the big change for Planned Parenthood. And it was a big branding change. They changed all of our colors. Everything went from like hot pink to blue. And so it was a different aesthetic. The website changed. It went from being very girly to more androgynous looking. And our tagline changed. So now all of a sudden our tagline was care no matter what. Okay, that's still their tagline today. Care no matter what. Our little nested peas, the PP sign, that changed a little bit. It looked more masculine instead of so feminine and kind of puffy and everything. Everything changed. The biggest change, though, was how we were going to answer questions about abortion. So they come to us and they say, listen, we hear you. We realize that how we're answering questions about abortion is not working anymore. It's not working for you guys. So we've got something new that we want to roll out to you. And here it is. So anytime a woman asks a question about abortion, whether it's about, the physical traits of the fetus, or whether it's, anything about the procedure or anything, okay? Emotionality, how she's feeling emotionally, and anything at all, okay? The answer that you're going to give back to her is this, and we all had to memorize it, and I still remember it. Women choose abortion because they care about themselves, their current families, and their future families. That was it. Women have abortions because they care about themselves, their current families, and their future families. And I thought, that's not going to work. I mean, they're asking specific questions, right, that have specific answers, and they're going to want to know that specific answer. And I'm skirting the question. I'm giving them an answer that doesn't even pertain to their question. This is not going to work, right? But I thought, okay, well, they're the experts, so we'll give it a go. So I remember the day. I remember the scrubs I was wearing that day. This was such a monumental day in my career at Planned Parenthood. I remember sitting there. I remember the woman sitting across from me. I remember her face. I'd recognize her if I saw her on the street. She was sitting across from me, and she was talking about this guilt she was feeling for having an abortion. And was this the right decision? She didn't know. And was she going to feel guilt afterward? And was really struggling, She was a little tearful. And I thought, okay, here we go. We're going to see if this really works, right? And I look at her and I said, I understand, but here's the thing. Women choose abortion because they care about themselves, their current family, and their future family. And she looked at me, and I didn't know what her answer was going to be because her face was kind of blank, And she looked at me for a minute, and she just went, oh, yes, that's exactly it. You get it. That is why I'm having an abortion. Because I care. Because I care about this baby. That's why I'm having an abortion. And I remember sitting there looking at her thinking, holy crap. That actually worked. And I remember thinking, we have just effectively turned abortion into an act of compassion. That was nuts. Now, at the time, I was the director of an abortion clinic, so I thought that was great. I thought, nobody's ever going to turn away from abortion, right? We're making it a compassionate act to kill their child. So, I thought this was great. I thought this was fantastic. I thought our marketing team was a genius. Then came our research program. Our affiliate was a part of the research program for a cell tech company called Amphioxus. They were a research group that wanted the entire body of aborted babies for research, for testing. And so after an abortion, we would take the entire body of the baby, we would put it into styrofoam boxes, and then we would ship it to Amphioxus, and they would then perform research on these aborted babies. And we don't always know what it's for. We know that a lot of times we do know a lot of times it's for vaccine creation. But what we were told to tell these women, we do have to have their consent to take their aborted baby, this specimen, and give it to the cell tech company. So what we did in that situation, what we were told to do was to tell the women that, listen, you have a great opportunity today. This is all in 2007. You have a great opportunity today. You have an opportunity to use your abortion procedure to possibly cure Parkinson's. Your baby could cure Alzheimer's. And these women would be like, oh, really? That's amazing. I could turn this really unpleasant experience into something amazing for someone else. And it worked every time. We never had a woman say no. And then I thought, not only have we made abortion an act of compassion, we've now made abortion an act of altruism. It's good. It's good for society for us to be killing our children. It was also the same year. 2007 was a big year for the abortion industry. 2007 was also the year that an anonymous donor began funding Planned Parenthood and all National Abortion Federation clinics to the tune of about $30 million a year. Now, this $30 million a year was restricted to low-income patients. So, i.e., minority patients. Primarily minority patients. I was one of the people that was on the team that worked with the Anonymous Donors Foundation. So I knew who the anonymous donor was, and it's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is a a person that subscribes to population control, the population control agenda. And so he continues now to give this funding to now, I mean, he could give anywhere up to $40 million a year to help fund primarily minority women, low-income women, to kill their babies. And that's all part of the plan. That was why Planned Parenthood was created, right? If you know anything about the history of Planned Parenthood, it was created by a woman who believed in eugenics. The entire reason that Planned Parenthood was founded was to eliminate the minority population through widespread access to abortion and contraception. And now we see Margaret Sanger, the founder, we see Margaret Sanger's dreams coming to fruition as now we look at some states like New York where their abortion rate is higher than their live birth rate in the Black community. I mean, it's happening. In some states, in minority communities, they are now below replacement rate because of abortion. In Pennsylvania, they're now paying women to continue their pregnancies because their birth rate is so low. So they're paying women monthly stipends to continue their pregnancies. You know who else did that? Russia. That's where we are right now. So all these things were happening. We began implementing abortion quotas, a certain number of abortions that we had to sell to women coming into our facility. But you may say, how do you do that? Well, it's not very hard to sell a pregnant woman an abortion if she's coming to a Planned Parenthood facility, because we are trained to basically eliminate her plans, to cause a problem in any plans that she has made to parent her child. So we make parenting sound impossible. It's so expensive to raise a baby right now. And you're going to be a single mom. You know how hard it is to be a single mom today. You're not going to have any support. You don't have any family close by. Daycare is so expensive. I mean, do you have any idea how expensive daycare is right now? It's like $1,200 a month. And your job, you're only paid like $14 an hour. I mean, daycare is going to take up like almost your entire check. And then what? You're not going to have enough money for food. Your electricity is like $200 a month. Those costs are just going up. And then what if you get sick? I mean, then what? You're going to lose money from your job that day. I mean, like, it's so easy to talk a vulnerable person, especially a young vulnerable person, into having an abortion. Especially if she was a Christian. Christian women are particularly vulnerable to having abortions. That's why the majority of women, almost 60% of women having abortions, regularly attend church. Because there's so much shame. We have made pregnancy outside of marriage the unforgivable sin, the most shameful sin. And that's what keeps women running. That's what keeps young women your age running into the doors of abortion facilities. Because it's the sin you wear. It's the sin you can't hide. You carry it on the front of your body. And so in order to hide that shame, women come into facilities like mine. Pastors' wives, pastors' daughters. We saw it all the time. When I left Planned Parenthood in 2009, I didn't realize the change that we would see in our society today. When I left Planned Parenthood, abortion was, of course, something that we were doing. It was, we were increasing the visibility of abortion. We were doing that through medication abortion. We were providing medication abortion almost every day of the week. We were performing surgical abortions every other week. But medication abortion has really changed the game in our society. It has changed the playing field. Abortion is now available through medication online to everyone without discrimination based on age, gestational age. They don't check for any sort of abuse. You could go online to over 70 websites right now, and you could say that you're 18 years old, but you could really be 12 years old. And you could access these chemical abortion pills, very dangerous chemical abortion pills, and they'll never check your ID. They don't care. You could be 20 weeks along in your pregnancy, which is incredibly dangerous. Be taking these medication abortion pills, and they don't require you to be seen by a physician or any sort of medical provider. They don't require you to have an ultrasound. But they'll send you the pills anyway, knowing that these pills could potentially kill you if you take them that far along in your pregnancy. But they don't care. The abortion industry has moved from this forward-facing idea, these forward-facing talking points of preventing abortion, to now moving to what they were really all about all along, but they were trying to keep it to themselves. But now they're very brazen about the fact that abortion providers do not care about the safety of women. They care about access to abortion at any and all cost. They don't care if a woman dies. They don't care if a woman hemorrhages to death in her bathroom because they sent her medication abortion pills without any sort of medical oversight. They don't care. In fact, here in California, many years ago, this was when the assembly was deciding on whether nurses were able to provide abortions here in the state of California, which is legal now and has been for some years. You don't have to be a doctor to provide abortion here in California. You can be a nurse. And Planned Parenthood had done a pilot study on the efficacy and the safety of nurse-provided abortions. And the results of this pilot study did not been good. One woman had to have a hysterectomy after a failed abortion. There had been many uterine perforations where the instrument had just poked a hole through the woman's uterus. There had been many infections, many retained products of conception, so parts of the baby that had been left inside of the woman's womb. Because as much as we love nurses, nurses are not skilled. They are not proficiently skilled in surgery like a doctor is, right? That's just a statement of fact. And so they're bringing these results of this pilot study in front of the assembly. And one of the assemblymen said, I have to bring up the results of this. I mean, we're talking about women, young women in their 20s having to have hysterectomies, losing their fertility in their 20s because a nurse performed their abortion. And now look what's happened to them, right? We're talking about women having severe infections, potentially sepsis, which can be fatal for them. I mean, this doesn't look like it's safe for women. So, I mean, how do you defend this program? How do you defend this? And the woman on the stand, she said, as she was speaking to the assembly, she said, it's really not about safety. It's about access. I mean, at least she's honest. It's only about access. And we know that to be true because we see women die at Planned Parenthood facilities on occasion, and Planned Parenthood doesn't even attempt to settle or reward these families with any sort of, award them with any sort of compensation or anything. They try to sweep it under the rug. They don't go to the families and say, we are so sorry. We can't believe this happened. This is clearly malpractice. We would like to, award you with these damages. And no. There was a woman in Chicago who bled to death on their table after an abortion. They did not call the ambulance until she was already dead. She had a 2-year-old son at home. Planned Parenthood refused to take any responsibility for her death, even though she died on their table. They refused to take any responsibility. And unfortunately, this woman's family did not get a good attorney. They got a ridiculous attorney who only got them $2 million in a settlement. They could have owned that Planned Parenthood affiliate by the end of it. But $2 million that's nothing for Planned Parenthood. That's like couch change for them. People aren't holding them accountable for their misdeeds. And that's why they keep getting away with these terrible, terrible crimes against women. So that's kind of where we are today. You think that when all of this came out about the, baby body parts being used for research and all this, I think a lot of people thought, oh, this is going to be it. This is the final nail in the coffin for Planned Parenthood. They're going down. I knew better. That did nothing to them. In fact, the people that exposed it are now having to file for bankruptcy. They're the ones that have been convicted here in California courts of wrongdoing because they exposed something illegal that was taking place. They're the ones being punished. The people that exposed the wrongdoing, the illegal acts, the people that exposed the illegality are now the ones being charged with criminal wrongdoing. And Planned Parenthood gets away scot-free. It's like Planned Parenthood is Teflon coated in our society. And a lot of that is because they are bought and paid for by our U.S. government. There have been many election cycles, there have been many congressional cycles where we have had a conservative Congress and we've had conservative presidents, and Planned Parenthood still remains funded. Every politician, every presidential candidate runs on the platform that they will defund Planned Parenthood. But every year, no matter who's in office, their funding continues to increase. Every year. Every president. Their funding continues to increase. Could they stop it? Yes. Do they? No. And this is our money. This is our money that is funding the largest, the greatest human rights tragedy that we will ever know in our lifetime. Probably in the world. 2,400 children being killed every day. Just in our nation. So that's where we are right now. Abortion is going to continue to be a hot button topic for people. I think one of the reasons that it continues to be a hot button topic is because people don't know how to talk about abortion. And there continues to be this belief that we should compromise on the issue of abortion. But whenever has there been a time where we compromise with murder? Where we compromise on murder? When has that ever been acceptable? When are we like, well, I mean, you can murder these people, but not these people? I mean, would that ever be acceptable in our society? Well, you can murder this group because they're ages 20 to 30, but not these because they're over 30. Like, no, that would be ridiculous. We don't murder people based on their age. We don't murder short people and not tall people. We don't murder people based on their size. We don't murder people who live in New York but not Texas. We don't murder people based on their location. We just don't murder people. We just don't kill innocent people. We just don't do that. Not in a civilized society. But that is what we do every day in this country through abortion. And so I think the more we compromise on this issue, the more ground the other side takes. These are issues that we cannot compromise on. And let me be clear, the Democratic Party will not compromise on it. The Democratic Party is never going to say, okay, we're okay with a 15-week ban. Or, okay, we're okay with a 20-week ban. Absolutely not. The Democratic Party will never compromise on abortion. The Democratic Party believes in abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy, taxpayer funded, for any and every reason without restriction. No compromise. That's it. It is only conservatives who are willing to compromise on their principles. The Democrats never compromise. They never compromise on their immorality. It is us who compromise our morals. We have to stop. We have to take a stand, and we have to stand firmly in what we believe. So I'd be happy to answer any questions now that you may have.
We have time for maybe 2 questions. 1 question, sorry. No, we didn't want to stop you. It was too wonderful. But we have a student panel, and then they have to fill this with 100 tables. So
fine.
Maybe 1 question.
Sure.
Hello, my name is Meg, and I'm from Christendom College. You actually came and spoke at our school.
Yes, Ryan Gosling was there.
You remember that?
A guy that looked just like Ryan Gosling. Okay, go ahead.
But after the overturn of Roe, you were saying the importance of the state fight for the end of abortion, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on how this fight was going and if there were specific ways in which we can help improve this fight and make it go farther.
Yeah, well, it's not going well, is it? We've seen some ballot initiatives go really poorly. Kansas did not go well. It's Michigan did not go well. Who else? Wyoming, I think, had one, did not go well. It hasn't gone well. If the states did not already have something on the books, it's not gone well. So like Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, a lot of the southern states, we had trigger bans on the books. So what that means is that we had a trigger law so that once Roe was overturned, we were prepared so that law that was in effect that made abortion illegal immediately triggered into effect. So if that was not already on the books, the states that have tried to now fight a battle after Roe, every one of them has been defeated. There's a huge fight going on now in Ohio. We don't know how that's going to go. It's actually if that fails, the battle right now in Ohio is they would actually make abortion a state constitutional right, which is incredibly dangerous because you can't just overturn that. It's not just a statutory code. I mean, this is a amendment to the Constitution, so the legislature can't just overturn it. I mean, this is a big deal. And it would make abortion legal through all 9 months of pregnancy constitutionally in the state of Ohio. And it would also allow minor gender transition surgery. The language is completely ambiguous, which is the point. So it would allow pretty much any and everything to come into the state regarding gender transition, gender modification, and abortion into the state of Ohio constitutionally. This is very dangerous. I think one of the things that we're dealing with is just a lack of urgency in the conservative movement. I think for a long time, conservatives have not done their part to get out and vote. About 50% of church members, Christians, do not vote. I think about half of Christians aren't even registered to vote. We're not voting. We're not registering. We're not getting involved in politics. We think things like abortion are political issues instead of looking at them rightly and seeing that they are moral issues. These are Jesus issues. These are Bible issues. This is a sin issue. So, of course, this is a church issue. It's not a political issue. This is something for everyone. This is a human rights violation, right? So this encompasses everybody, no matter what your faith tradition is. This is for everybody. So I just think that we've kind of taken it for granted. And we haven't gotten out there to vote like we should. And we've just kind of been sitting on our bums going, other people have got it. Other people are going to vote the right way, and I don't have to do anything. But the left, their base, they are fired up over the right to kill children. They are fired up over the ability to destroy the family. And I think what people need to understand is that abortion is not at the root of this evil. The LGBTQ agenda is not the root of this evil. The destruction of the family is the root. Abortion and homosexuality and transgender, those are the symptoms, right? Those are the symptoms of this root. But at the root, it's the destruction of the family. It's the destruction of the image of God. That's really at the core. That's really at the heart of it. And all those things we see springing out, all this evil we see springing out, those are just symptoms of really the root cause. And so, the best thing that we can do to really overcome this is to be in the Word, have babies, and raise conservative families, and know the law, right? Be educated about these things that are happening, and then be activated and do something about it. I've done my part. I've had my 8 babies, so now it's y'all's turn. But I think we do have to get just more and more active, and we've got to encourage young people around us, and we've got to encourage people in our churches to really get out there and do something, because it's like the bystander effect. Everybody's just sitting around waiting on everybody else to do something, and we're blaming everybody else for our failures, when really this responsibility is on us and us alone.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
What a powerful talk for dignity in life. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll go right into the next panel.
Hello, everyone.